Classroom procedures, the backbone of the classroom. Objectives, teachers will be able to explain the difference between procedures and rules, generate a list of procedures for daily tasks and activities. What is a procedure? A procedure is a series of actions or steps to complete a task or activity. A procedure is just a way that we do things in the classroom. These include stuff like walking quietly in the hallway, using hand signals, raising your hand in class, etc. Classroom procedures help us have an orderly classroom. They help students become more productive and they help students learn more. Procedures are what your students are responsible for doing every day. Procedures make your classroom run smoothly. Every student knows exactly what they are supposed to do at every moment in your classroom. Rules versus procedures. A procedure differs from a rule because if a procedure is broken or forgotten, it should be retaught. In contrast, if a rule is broken, it requires an immediate consequence. A rule must be followed and can be more vague or general. A student shouldn't be issued a consequence for violating a procedure unless insubordination is involved in the act. Choosing the right procedures for your classroom is an individual decision. You don't have to limit your procedures like you have to limit your rules. It would be easy if all we had to do was tell our students what all of our classroom procedures are on the first day of school. In a perfect world, they would remember the procedures and follow them without fail until the very last day of school. Dream on. They're kids. They will forget. Make learning the procedures a concrete, hands-on activity throughout the first weeks of school. Begin with the most important procedures like entering the classroom and dismissal first. Then you may add other procedures later, such as putting the heading on papers and turning in work. Here is a process for teaching procedures. In his book, The First Days of School, How to Be an Effective Teacher, Dr. Harry K. Wong suggests a three-step process for teaching classroom procedures to students. First, explain classroom procedures clearly. Next, rehearse classroom procedures until they become routines. And finally, reinforce a correct procedure and reteach an incorrect one. Plan on spending a lot of time teaching your classroom procedures, practicing them with your students, and reinforcing them during the first few weeks of school. And if you teach middle or high school students, remember that your students have several other teachers whose procedures may be different from yours. You may want to get together with some of the other teachers before the start of the school year to agree upon a set of uniform procedures for those not already regulated by your school district. Let's take a look at a few sample classroom procedures. Many of these procedures are generic procedures that all teachers need the first day or week of school. For example, all students need to know how to enter your classroom. You may tell them to enter quietly and politely, or if they are late to class, to make sure they don't interrupt other students. Next, especially for younger children, you may want to have a procedure on how to line up. You may tell them to stand up quietly and push their chairs in. And of course, take all necessary materials with them. Also, you may want to explain how students can leave a classroom. You may tell them to make sure they inform you of where they are going. You may show them where the hall pass is located. And finally, you may explain to them how to conduct themselves in the hallway. Some additional classroom procedures can be how to start the day, how you would like your students to end the day, and how to take out, put away, or care for their supplies. Many of these procedures are universal for any classroom and any age group. Here are some additional suggestions. I'll only point out a few. You may want to explain or have a procedure about how to participate in group lessons. Another good procedure to have is how to hand in finished work or homework. And finally, a real good procedure to have is how to behave when visitors enter the room. Reminder, post your procedures in a prominent place. This is a good way to remind students of how things are done in your classroom. So let's review. There is no limit on the number of procedures necessary for your classroom. Consistently teach and practice class procedures the first few weeks of school until they become routine. And finally, prominently post major procedures in the classroom as a reminder to students. We have reached the end of the lesson. Complete the following activity in your workbook. Generate a list of at least 10 procedures that you think are necessary for the first week of school. Use your teaching style, subject area, seating chart, rules, and most definitely your class vision to guide you as you generate your list.